Hi, my name's Luna, and I finally released the short film I've been plotting since October and actively working on since January titled Alleyways. It's the final entry of Volume 1 of the Solon Loves You web series, and you can watch both of those right now through the links in the description. Alleyways was designed to be a choose your ending game with 4 findable endings and alternative game over screens, which is something that isn't very often done. And it's the proudest event of anything ever in a very long time. So much that I've been fearing opening up about it on here. But with this vlog, I intend on telling you how it was done for the most part. But before I get into the sauce, I need to first talk about how I feel, because I've never felt so much about a release in recent memory. The Solon Loves You story has been complete in my mind for a while now. The challenge has been figuring out how to convey it to you, the viewer. And because the internet horror scene is notorious within itself for repetition and tropes, my goal as an artist is to reinvent the wheel or productively adding to it, especially because this particular story demands that of me a little bit as well. Now, Alleyways was maybe an audacious step for someone like me to take. An interactive horror short of this magnitude. It's the kind of thing that's only safe if you're already established, and I'm not. On top of that, the story itself is very abstract, and all of that is really reflecting on the feedback. Because you see, what's interesting about Alleyways is that it's receiving near solid 4-star reviews on Newgrounds, not reviews, ratings. Which is rare, because Newgrounds is a very carefully curated site. But despite over 60 strong ratings, there's only 2 comments left by my 2 friends. Now, I don't have 60 friends, and if I did, they'd be voting 5 stars and not 3.81, right? Which leaves me with this impression that people know it's good and they're voting accordingly, but maybe don't feel comfortable saying anything back to me. I ran some test screenings face to face, and it's clear that a lot of people are under the impression that I think I'm special, or that I'm just flatly unreadable for the sake of weird. But the truth is that ever since I kicked off the Solon project, I've been grieving the fact that people don't seem invited to engage with it like they do with other projects like it. Perhaps because they feel it's unapproachable, but to me it's actually much the contrary, as I'm 100% convinced that you can understand exactly what I'm saying. I'm not trying to woo you with something cryptic just because. I am a person, you are presumably a person too, and so I adamantly refuse to believe that you have no idea what I'm talking about. You know, this isn't a you don't get it project. I'm making it specifically because I know that you do. I'm hoping that opening the curtain with this behind the scenes look will help you test the waters. Just in case you're still on the fence about experiencing the short, I think it's important that you see that I did in fact sit for hours drawing, modeling, animating, scoring something for you to resonate with. Especially in times like these, where you can't fully certainly trust everything you see, or that it's a person behind it at all. Please know that I am. So, yeah, let's get to it. Alleyways got its name a long time ago. Solon is highly inspired by Yume Nikki, so I tossed around ideas to actually make a game down the line with these characters. Because again, the story came first. The name is inspired by a Glass Animals song titled Dreamland, where they propose that memories are back streets deep in your head. Now, because I'm annoying, I was like, nuh-uh. Because for me, memories, and by association, every mental image, is more of an array of alleyways. Memories rarely have interconnectivity between each other. Sometimes they're unreliable because what we felt overpowered what we saw, and thus remember. So I kept this name, Alleyways, in mind until the time for it to be used came. Which brings us to this. This is Alleyways. You can't see very well because I'm using my webcam, but it's like a whole thing. It's like on paper, written with pen until we get later down the line where stuff becomes muddier in its written in pencil instead. As a matter of fact, most of this has been changed. But yeah, we have the endings as well. And we have this other page that has other notes and the script for Charlie's Dream and the tutorial section. Yeah, all of that. But this is a map of the events, right? And this is not the first thing that I worked on, obviously, because that was Leon's player model. People ask me why Leon looks the way he does. And the reason is because Leon, spoiler alert, in case you haven't watched the show, is a replica of Oliver 5 years younger at 15 years old. So you have this 15-year-old and this 20-year-old, and they're the same person. But I really can't just have the same identical looking people talking to each other all the time, even if that's what the premise is. So I decided that Leon should be a less literal design and should instead communicate ideas. He has straight blonde hair, opposite to Oliver's wavy brown. He has a rhinoplasty cast that he doesn't remove. And these ideas were communicated to the chibi version by making its skin pitch white and giving him a skinwalker stare. So the plastic idea of insecurity is translated in that way. Then Alleyways started. And it starts with the tutorial character, Charlie, and then through a questionnaire happening in tandem with the gameplay, you are then thrown into a route. There's two for each, two endings, and we're gonna go through the guaranteed scenes with Charlie for now. Most of Alleyways was made in Blender. I'm now showing you some of the sets and models I made. I made all the sceneries with free assets and just basic shapes, walked around with the camera, and did all of the video game GUI elements in After Effects and my drawing programs. Alleyways also has its own original score. The cheery side of it was all made with sound fonts and old keyboard libraries for an authentic feel. And you can download the music from the short and use it on your own projects through the link in the description. So after we reunite with Charlie, we are then sent into one of the two routes. The game style begins to shift or unravel. We start seeing these cutscenes with a slightly more elaborate art style. My projects never have a specific style they stick with. I prefer to curate specific elements from several sources and interweaving them together, giving you more information when you need it and taking it away whenever you don't. But from this point on, the music goes from video game soundtrack to more dark ambient stuff, which is one of my favorite genres to produce. I adore layering in music, and ambient music really gives you space to sit with pretty sounds for extended periods of time as complementary elements slowly get introduced. And on screen right now, there should be the track Nowhere Middle Of, which starts with this futuristic section made by Shakira. And as Leon descends further into the level, the music begins to smear and darken as well. In keeping with this tonal shift, every time music is an ambient, it's still darker. So the next track I wanted to show you is U1, which plays in the result screens almost every time you reach an ending, as there's one exception. It's a trip-hop track that's heavily inspired by the music of Silent Hill 2, which is a franchise I constantly reference. With the last episode of the Solon Loves You Volume 1, it was important for me to answer the question I get asked the absolute most, which is, what's the correlation between the music and the horror shorts, right? Well, if you've seen all of Alleyways through the supercut, or you've played it, you would know that the music is diegetic to the world, meaning that Oliver is making the music. Little Guy, Bear, Shanice are all characters of Oliver's, and they all represent ideas that we will explore as the series goes on. And sometimes those characters will actually come back to illustrate the point that they represent. I want to bring your attention to Oliver's dream sequence room because it's really the heart of the short and where every single individual element of my craft gets to shine, as there's the 3D environment, there's the drawings, there's music. And so this set represents Oliver's mental spiraling prison. Whenever Oliver and Leon interact in the stream, the room begins to spin. And to match this idea, the theme that plays in the background is an original composition made to sound like this huge carousel. But after Leon is displeased with the outcome of this interaction, he abuses his abilities and rewinds time, bringing us to the big scare of the episode. This is my first set of experiments with data moshing. I've never done it before. And I really wanted to blur this moment with another we've seen before, where Leon felt urgency to run for whatever reason. So we glitch between the infinite bathroom from the assessment and the woods, where Oliver is actively running away from Leon. The music in this section is a remix of an unknown stock track, which is also used in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. And you might want to lower your volume for this part. This song was achieved by pitching and chopping the exact same sample and granulizing every different layer. These illustrated cutscenes you see in between most individual parts after Charlie's tutorial section were all done in my refurbished 2017 iPad using Procreate and Eevee Paint. As I talked about a little bit in the last episode, I'm someone that's less oriented through style, and I instead prefer to curate a vibe for each individual project, if that makes sense. I decided on this anime-ish art style for Alleyways and the rest of the animated Sullen Loves You episodes, because there will be more. And my main inspiration for the Sullen style were Invader Zim and other internet-born projects like Eddsworld, which is one of my biggest inspirations for everything, ever. I'm not too big on anime. I had a Genshin phase once, but because internet is so interweaved with anime, I obviously caught on some traits. It naturally seeped into my work in this way. So, now that we have all the main videos, here's what my YouTube studio dashboard looks like because of them. Which is a fucking mess, and I hate looking at it every time that I have to. But whatever, you know? Now, with Alleyways being out, we are nearing the end of the first phase of the Sullen project. And with Alleyways out, that means that there are no more scary videos until phase 2. Now, phase 2 will rebalance Sullen, meaning that the music will be presented differently, and so will the story. Volume 2 will be completely different from how I did Volume 1. It's a complete switch up against, not switch up, again, rebalancing is the best word for this. I hope that with this video, I have effectively interested you into the rest of what I'm working on. I'm gonna keep at it, but for now, that is it. Thanks for watching.